The BC Lions shakeup continues. Gone are Larry Kuharek and Joe Kapp. In are Jim Young and Bob Obilovich. That story coming up on the CFL Report. Also ahead in the next 30 minutes, the Calgary Stampeders have lost 2 in a row, and now they've lost their 2 quarterbacks. A look at some of the great plays of the 1990 season. And he's worked with both NFL and Major League Baseball stars. Now he's anxious to work with CFL players.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the CFL Report. Coming to you this week from Calgary. We thought the Calgary quarterback story would be the top story of the week. That is until Murray Pezim got back into the news on the West Coast. And that's where we begin the CFL Report today. A lot of changes in the wake of Thursday night's 30-point loss by the BC Lions to the Toronto Argonauts. And the changes began quickly on Friday morning.
Major Harris, Murray Pezim, Mark Gastineau, Murray Pezim, Doug Flutie, Murray Pezim, Joe Kapp, Murray Pezim. You get the idea? Call him exciting, brilliant, maybe even crazy, but don't call Murray Pezim boring. Since Pezim took over the Lions last year, there have been countless changes. And the latest is one of the biggest. Last Friday, Kapp fired head coach Larry Kuharek, but didn't fire team general manager Joe Kapp.
Are you still employed? Yes. Okay.
On Monday, Kapp attended the Lions practice and preached words of optimism.
We're not giving up on this season in any way, shape, or form. There are 8 games remaining. We've got our home games here. Our fans are going to see a top football team for the remainder of the season.
But the words were short-lived. Kapp was fired. Enter Jim Young, Dirty 30, the former star with the BC Lions back in the 60s. Young is now the team's GM. And former Argo coach Bob Obilovich was named head coach. Pezim wanted Obilovich. Kapp didn't. And remember, Pezim's the boss.
I feel very comfortable with him. We talked on the phone. I think he's going to be great for me. I'll be able to get back to work. The public will be satisfied, and, you know, let's get the show on the road.
I'm happy to be a general manager. It's been a long-term goal of mine. Now we have some things to do. We have a team to get ready for Thursday.
Obilovich and Young have a tough task ahead of them. The Lions are the worst football team in the CFL. But Pezim will not tolerate poor results and will continue to make changes if needed. Which brings us to Mark Gastineau. Gastineau is back and appears to be getting a second chance.
Well, you know, hopefully it'll be positive, and hopefully I'll have another chance. I have still yet to talk to Jim Young, and that's where I'm headed right now before I found out that you guys wanted to talk to me. So I was heading out to Surrey and you know, and do whatever I have to do to see if I can get back on the team.
The bottom line is, on the field, the Lions are a bad football team. They have only 2 wins this season. But off the field, well, that's a different story. Off the field, the Lions, led by their ostentatious boss, are the most interesting team in the CFL.
Meanwhile, here in Calgary, the problems are not so much what's happening off the field as what's happening on the field. The Stampeders have lost 4 of their last 5 games, and now they're playing with their 3rd quarterback of the season. As usual, the Edmonton Eskimos have provided a considerable obstacle to the Calgary Stampeders. 2 wins in 5 days by the Green and Gold has cost Calgary points in the standings, turmoil of the mind, and both starting quarterbacks. Danny Barrett was hurt in Game 1. He's got a broken bone in his right leg. He's out of the lineup until early October. Terrence Jones was hurt last Friday in Game 2. It's a muscle problem, not a shoulder separation as first feared, but it's enough to keep Jones out of the lineup for Friday's game against Winnipeg. In place of Barrett and Jones stepped 2 veterans. Rick Warman came off the bench last Friday in relief of Terrence Jones and played reasonably well in a loss to Edmonton.
I was a little rusty going in, but you know, I got to get back in the thick of things, and we moved the ball well. We got to dwell on those positive things, but we need to get the ball in the end zone to be able to put points on the board and be competitive in the ball game.
The game plan wasn't changed when Rick got in. You know, Rick does a lot of good things. he scrambled actually a lot better than I had remembered. And, you know, Tom's always been one who's been very mobile and can roll out. So, no, we're not going to change our game plan.
Behind Warman is veteran Tom Porras, cut by the Argos over the weekend and signed immediately by Calgary. Porras is looking for one more opportunity and hoping if he gets the chance, he can make the most of it.
I actually phoned him, you know, to see what the situation was, and I got a hold of John Huffnagel, and it was pretty explanatory after watching the game and learning about how serious Danny's injury was. So my wife asked me, and said, well, why don't you call Calgary? I said, well, I think Danny just has a sprained ankle. And I turned the sports page over and I said, well, let's check out the game tonight. And then when Terrence went down, I said, well, I guess it's time to go.
Most teams in this league struggle to put enough quality players on the field from one week to the next, but the Edmonton Eskimos, as usual, are thinking ahead a year or so. Reggie Taylor plays out his option at the end of next season, and unless he signs a new contract, he might move on to another team. What will the Eskimos do at running back? Well, we all know they have some of the best Canadians in the game. They got another one who might be a dandy, signed up on Monday.
It took a while, but the Edmonton Eskimos have finally signed their #1 draft pick, Sean Millington, the first overall pick in the CFL draft. Millington recently returned to Edmonton after an unsuccessful tryout with an NFL team.
It's going to be a job, and all I can do is try my best and work hard and keep coming in and learning the system, and hopefully there'll be a spot where something will develop.
The Ottawa Rough Riders continue to improve. The Riders won their 3rd game in a row on Sunday, defeating the Saskatchewan Rough Riders by a score of 30-21 in front of over 25,000 at Lansdowne Park in Ottawa. Damon Allen led the Riders' attack. He completed 24 of 38 passes for 275 yards and 2 touchdowns, and also ran for another early in the 4th quarter to put the game away and delight the enthusiastic Ottawa fans. Meanwhile, in Winnipeg, the Bombers hosting the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and this game would belong to Winnipeg cornerback Rod Hill. Hill would do what no player has ever done in CFL history, pick off 5 passes in one game. It seemed every time Hamilton quarterbacks Mike Kerrigan and Todd Dillon threw up the ball, there would be Hill to pull down yet another interception. His 5th and record-setting interception came in the 4th quarter and added the finishing touches to an easy 29-18 victory by the Bombers, who solidified their hold on first place in the East Division. Winnipeg is on top with 14 points. Toronto is 4 points behind in second with a record of 5-5, followed by Hamilton and Ottawa, together in 3rd place with 8 points.
It seems to me that there have been a bunch of very pleasant surprises this season, and in all reality, not very many disappointments. Here's John Wells now with his thoughts on that subject. John?
Surprises and disappointments. A few of each just past the midway mark in 1990. Vancouver's 3-ring football circus ranks up there with the biggest disappointment so far. The Lions made one error after another, and their season is all but over. Acquiring the likable Doug Flutie may be the team's best move. Given time, Flutie will prove that. The other disappointment in the West is in Calgary. A better football team, yes. But why do the Stampeders freeze at the mere mention of the word Eskimos? Granted, Edmonton has a better football club, but surely the Stampeders do not have to gift wrap a victory every time they meet the Eskimos. The positives? There are many in Ottawa. Management has encouraged enthusiasm in the stands, and the team has played well in defeat as well as victory. The Rough Riders have 4 wins and deserved a couple more. The Riders may be a step or two away from the Grey Cup this year, but they are miles ahead of last year.
Okay, John, great linebacking has become a trademark of the Canadian Football League. We've seen some great players at that position the last few years. When we come back on the CFL Report, you'll meet number 42 of the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. We'll be back. Welcome back to the CFL Report. Eddie Lowe probably hasn't gotten the recognition that he deserves in the Canadian Football League because there are so many good linebackers playing the game in this country. But make no mistake about it, number 42 was an integral part of the Saskatchewan Roughriders Grey Cup team of 1989. And if the Riders are to defend that title this year, Eddie Lowe will be a big part of that story as well.
Saskatchewan linebacker Eddie Lowe is not getting any older. He's getting better. Lowe's coming off his 7th and best season in the Canadian Football League. He was named a Western and CFL All-Star in 1989 for the first time in his career, and the Green Riders won the Grey Cup. In the off-season, Lowe lives in Georgia, and you could say he works banker's hours.
Well, during the off-season, I'm a banker in the off-season at a bank called Columbus Bank and Trust, and I've been doing that for the past 10 years. And I'm a loan officer, and like I said, I'm a banker during the off-season.
Time now for our hits of the week. In third spot, this could be the block of the week. Watch Edmonton's number 22, Blake Marshall. He lines up Calgary's Mitchell Price and puts him onto his backside. Another look. 10 more minutes till the next train. Now on to Winnipeg. Veteran Rick House knows he's going to get hit, and does he ever. Sonny Gordon performing the honors from a different angle. You can see it's a good, clean pop. Pretty good catch, too. But our hit of the week comes from Vancouver. Don Wilson lines up Jay Christensen and really rings his bell. Have another look. Don Wilson's timing is perfect, and so is the pop. Good enough for our hit of the week.
More surprises, more disappointments around the CFL this year. Let's bring in Leif Pedersen for his thoughts on that subject. Leif?
Peter, although this is the CFL Report, I'm in my office today taking care of some business. I think the biggest surprise is the fact that so far in the CFL, 6 of 8 cities are up in attendance. You know, no longer are we hearing the doom and gloom stories of whether a club will meet its payroll or whether it'll be around next year. Instead, people are talking about the solid marketing jobs being done in cities like Ottawa, Edmonton, and Calgary. They're talking about the high-scoring, exciting games they've seen so far. Could it be that the CFL is back in favor? Well, I think so. You know, every year we begin the season by saying this is a year for parity in the CFL, but somehow it just doesn't happen. This year, surprise, it's different. Any team can win, and that's good for business. You know, as I look at the teams around the league, I think the biggest surprise has been the play of everyone's special teams. At no time can I remember so many teams returning punts and kickoffs so well. It's the #1 reason why so many points are being scored. Well, when you talk about surprises, you have to talk about a player. How about Troy Wilson in Ottawa? You know, I call him the thief of the CFL with his 8 interceptions and 7 fumble recoveries. To me, he's been the biggest surprise of all the players. Along with all the good stuff, there have to be some disappointments. And I think Mike Kerrigan in Hamilton has been a disappointment with his 21 interceptions. But don't worry, folks. When the team gets healthy, his numbers will improve too. But to me, the biggest disappointment by far has been the attendance in Toronto. You know, the Argos have some exciting players in Matt Dunnigan, Darryl Smith, and Harold Holman, but you wouldn't know it. Come on, Harry O, you've got the best-kept secret in town. Let's see their faces on some billboards and get some excitement around here. You know, you've got a great product, but no one will know unless you sell it.
Some of the surprises this year have come from players we didn't expect much of or know much about when the season began back in early July. And then some of the big plays have come from players we know we can expect those things from week in and week out, year after year. Let's look at some of the big plays so far in 1990.
Let's start with the biggest run from scrimmage by last year's rushing leader, who's having another great season, Edmonton's Reggie Taylor. Taylor broke this one against the Calgary Stampeders, streaking 81 yards for the touchdown. Biggest pass? How about one from a game we saw right here on TSN? Saskatchewan hosting Winnipeg, and Kent Austin hits Jeff Fairholm, who goes all the way, 107 yards for the touchdown. The longest punt return belongs to who else but Calgary rookie sensation Derek Crawford. He's returned 3 punts for touchdowns, and this one was the longest, 82 yards against the Eskimos. The longest kickoff return was turned in by Hamilton's Wally Zatilny. This Bishop's University speedster went 93 yards against the Toronto Argos on July the 28th at Ivor Stadium. Turning to the kickers, Calgary's Mark McLaughlin has been having a good year. and he's kicked the league's longest field goal this season, 54 yards against the Ottawa Roughriders. And finally, the longest punt so far, delivered by a rookie, Edmonton's Ray McAreedy, who got a good bounce or two and was credited with an 87-yard punt. Still ahead, a look at one of the Edmonton Eskimos' great receivers, number 71, Keith Wright. But before we go, some CFL trivia. On Sunday, Rod Hill set a CFL record with 5 interceptions in a game. Who was the first player to have 4 interceptions in one game? We'll have the answer later in the show.
Welcome back to the CFL Report. Today from Calgary. More of the CFL's best in 1990 now. Here's Rod Smith.
There's a lot of fast guys in the CFL. Well, to find out who the fastest is, we asked the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
The fastest guy in the league, depending on whether he just got beat deep or not, probably would be Reggie Pleasant of the Toronto Argonauts. Or Troy Wilson is pretty fast. Of course, Andre Francis can run with the best of them. But whenever I'm scared, going across the middle, I can run real fast.
I have to say Andre Francis because he has so much a great recovery speed, and that's the way I judge speed on the defensive side, is how well the guy can make up yardage.
Beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's Henry Gizmo Wentz from Edmonton Eskimos. I believe they clocked in at 4.2 something at Philadelphia's camp, so here's all the credentials.
Hamilton slotback Rocky DiPietro has had quite a professional football career. He has played 13 seasons in the CFL, all with the Tiger Cats. Since leaving the University of Ottawa, DiPietro has become the CFL's all-time leading receiver. He was named the CFL's Outstanding Canadian in both 1982 and 1989. At Ottawa, he had the opportunity to play in some great teams and make some very good friends.
Oh yeah, I've got a lot of friends that I still keep in touch with, guys I went to school with and I lived with up there, and I still go back there from time to time, and a lot of great memories whenever I go back.
You know, another surprise this year has been the play of a young wide receiver from Los Angeles who's in the camp of the Edmonton Eskimos. People remember back a few years to Brian Kelly and Waddell Smith and Tommy Scott and so many more good wideouts. But the last couple of years, the wide receiver position has been a problem for the green and gold. But not this year.
In only his second CFL season, Eskimo receiver Keith Wright has become one of the league's premier wide receivers.
Anytime you contribute to an offense that's as potent as ours, it makes you feel good that you have a role in that offense. And I think I have a specific role, and that's when Tracy's looking to get the ball in the end zone. He's called my number most of the time. So I feel real good about that. And at the same time, I just feel good about the overall picture of our offense and how good we're doing right now.
In the offseason, Wright returns to his native California to help his mother with the family business.
During the off-season, I work at a group home that my mother runs for little guys age from 6 to 10 years old.
Where's that?
So that's in Los Angeles, California. So during the off-season, that's where I spend most of my time, and it's really fulfilling when you get a chance to help young kids, and a lot of times you see yourself in some of them, and it's real easy to deal with them and to help them along the way. So that's how I spend most of my off-season. I really enjoy it.
Still ahead on the CFL Report, we'll meet the man that thinks he can help make the BC Lions winners. But first, our trivia question. On Sunday, Rod Hill set a CFL record with 5 interceptions in a game. Who was the first player to have 4 interceptions in one game? The answer is Don Sutherland, who had 4 interceptions back in 1961 while playing for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Sutherland has now an assistant coach with the Edmonton Eskimos.
I think I said that in 1961, I'm sorry, against Don Getty. Matter of fact, Don felt gracious and threw me 4 interceptions down in Hamilton that night, and it's been standing for a long time, but that's a great feat that Rod Hill did, and I congratulate him immensely.
Back to the CFL Report. Time for the question of the week and the viewer mail now. Here's Lee Pedersen in Toronto.
Well, it's time to take a look at the viewer mail. And I must say there's been some great questions so far this year. Today's question comes from Florence Penny in Kelowna, BC. And she says, Dear Leaf, last week your game was in BC Place. I think the Dome Stadiums take away from the atmosphere and the tradition of the game. Don't you think all football games should be played outdoors the way it used to be? Florence, what do you want? I'm an ex-receiver. I like everything perfect when I played, and that's the way I like to watch football now. I don't like to see receivers falling down in the snow or wet fields or running backs slipping as they go to make a cut. I think everything should be played in the best possible conditions. So, hey, I love the Dome Stadiums. Do you want to be in Edmonton when it's 30 below in November, or would you rather be sitting in the Sky Dome where it's nice 72 degrees? Dome Stadiums are for me. Well, if you have a CFL question, send us along to CFL Questions, 1155 Leslie Street, Don Mills, Ontario, and the postal code is M3C2J6.
Some professional sports teams have been slow to recognize what the sports sciences community can do for their product on the field. But the British Columbia Lions have been in such a state of flux over the last couple of months that they'll try anything to try and make sure that the state of mind of their players is where it should be. We have this report.
Dr. Saul Miller is what you'd call one of the new breed of sports coaches. Miller, a member of the sports medicine faculty at the University of British Columbia, is a sports psychologist.
Basically, what I do is enhance performance. I mean, I like to think that the mind's like a TV set, and it watches one program at a time, and you control the switch. It's your TV. So what I do is really help people to be able to change channels on the TV, and I work with them to develop better quality programs so that what they think and what they picture as they perform is stuff that really gives them power, that helps them to be at their best.
Miller has worked with athletes like hockey player Dave Tiger Williams, baseball player Gary Carter, and Indianapolis Colt running back Eric Dickerson.
I think one of the hardest people for me to work with initially was Eric Dickerson. I remember approaching him. The coach had asked me to work with a specific thing with Eric, and I approached him and introduced myself. I had just joined the Rams at the time and introduced myself, and he looked at me and he said, "Do you run with the ball?" And I think there's a reality to that. You know, these are the guys who are going out on the field or out on the ice or whatever, and they're putting their lives on the line. And advice is easy. It's easy to just say something to somebody, and I think a healthy skepticism is something I expect from a winner. And so I think over a period of a couple of years, we developed a good relationship, and hopefully some of the things I did with him and said to him were helpful.
Miller also helped BC quarterback Joe Paupow in the early 80s.
Yeah, his work can be beneficial, you know, that type of thing. But again, it's an individual thing. Certain people react different ways, and I just know that he helped me, and we became good friends from there.
Now with the Lions struggling, Miller says there's no reason why he can't help the team this season.
Well, I don't have any doubt about it. I don't have any doubt about it. I worked with the Lions back in '81, '82, and I think it was real helpful to some people at that time. I worked with the Rams '85, '86, '87. I think it was helpful to that organization. There's no question in my mind.
And with all the chaos in Vancouver, who should be coming to town next but the Edmonton Eskimos? The Eskimos and the Lions to open week number 11 of the CFL season Thursday night at the stadium at BC Place.
This week's schedule begins on Thursday. The Edmonton Eskimos visiting the BC Lions. The Eskimos, coming off 2 big wins over Calgary, put their league-best 7-3 record up against the much-revamped Lions. The next day, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers travel to Calgary. The Bombers are tied with the Eskimos for top spot in the league and will be looking for their 8th win of the season against the struggling Stampeders. Looking ahead to the weekend, the Toronto Argos renew hostilities with their eastern rivals Hamilton on Saturday. The Argos defeated the Ticats 41-29 earlier this season in a game that was even more one-sided than the score would seem to indicate. The final game of Week 11 goes on Sunday. Ottawa is in Saskatchewan. This game gives the Green Riders a chance to avenge last week's 30-21 loss at the hands of the Eastern Riders.
And that's everything for this week on the CFL Report. A reminder, our telecast schedule resumes on Saturday, September 22nd at 7 o'clock Eastern Time with the CFL Report from Hamilton, followed at 7:30 by the Ticats and the British Columbia Lions. Join us for that Saturday, September 22nd here on TSN. For now, I'm Peter Watson, Calgary. Thanks for joining us this week on the CFL Report.